Okay, Dad, what do you have here? What is this?
It's whatever year Austin. I got no idea what year, but I've never seen one in person. They're just so small.
Yeah.
Like a miniature Model T.
Pretty cool. The crank start.
Yeah. A hearse.
It's a hearse, really? Ah. What's cool about it?
Just the size and the perspective. I've never seen one in person. Dan Trudell, this is kind of like the Speedster I was talking about building. Narrow up the frame a little bit in the back, put a Chevy 6-cylinder in it, so it's really dangerous.
You used to own one of these, you said?
Yeah, it's no big deal. Volkswagen Carmen Ghia. I actually like that.
Just fancy looking bug.
Yeah. Way cool. It's funny going through this automotive museum and they have stuff on display in the museum that we have laying in the junk pile at the farm. So is that like the Lotus you
I think
rode
that's a
in?
Lotus. Yeah, it's very, very similar.
Charlie's that?
Almost exactly the same. I'm sure it's a different year, but
It's got to be a rush going 120 miles an hour that close to the ground.
it couldn't go that fast with me in it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
In fact, the suspension bottomed out, so he like ruined his tire on my side.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I felt a bit bad. What's this?
That's like a 23 Dodge. Uncle Stefan had one of these in his, I don't know what year this one is, but Steve had a original Dust Bowl era, like a 27 touring coupe kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was in museum condition, dusty, used, that ran and drove.
What is it?
It's a V12
Oh, it's
Kitty
a-
Hawk Allison.
Cool. It's an airplane engine.
They used those post-war. You could buy them for like $2,000. There's a bunch of guys that put them in drag racers and
Wow.
in Bonneville
That's a
Salt
lot
Flats.
of power. Yeah.
That looks like an Austin Bantam 4-door, but it looks a little big to be a Bantam. I don't know what it is. Greg Anderson has it. Several international pickups, vintage ones.
Yeah.
I never knew they made a car. It's a replica.
Ah, replica. Okay.
And it's electric.
Interesting.
It's a Velocette, opposed twin.
What does that mean?
Well, the pistons go out to the sides like a
Oh,
VW
I just mean
bug.
like, what's the significance of this bike?
I have never seen one in person. I've barely seen any in magazines.
Ah. You've heard of them though?
Yeah. I don't think there's a motorcycle made ever that I haven't heard of.
I believe that. So which one did Mom have?
The Yamaha TY250 Trials bike. She rode it once across next to the cemetery in town. She dumped it and bruised her leg on the back side from her knee down to her ankle. Never rode it again. 18 seconds in a quarter mile.
Is that fast?
No, not at all. Christchurch newspaper,
Oh wow.
1963. I used to rule like that.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember going to what did we used to play? That was Duluth.
Yeah, down on Park Road.
I remember. I was lost. What am I looking at, Dad?
I do believe that's a Ford Cortina. I don't know what they're called here.
It's orange. Looks very souped up.
Very cool. I've seen way too many of those. This is badass.
Is it?
Yeah.
Looks very light.
Ford front axle, wide 5 hub. Remember Mom's red rabbit?
Is this a rabbit?
This is a Golf.
Oh. Interesting.
Trip back from Finland with her keeping up with me. It's my little blue Dodge pickup. She was sliding around those corners. You were in the car with Mom. Danny was with me in the pickup. I had to slow down so she didn't crash. So we made it to the hardware store, the home of the world's fastest Indian. This is the one request I had when Josh asked me what I wanted to do in New Zealand was come to Invercargill, the home of Bert Munro. Yeah, this is the hardware store that inherited all of his stuff from the guy that basically sponsored Bert, his best friend that owned the hardware store back in the day. He left all of his stuff to the hardware store owner when he found out he couldn't ride motorcycles anymore, with the stipulation that the bikes never be sold. And what's really cool about this is everybody's out for a buck, but this museum is totally free. That's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's go, Dad.
Here's one of those I tried to buy from the guy for a long time in Hibbing, sitting in this old rundown garage. He says, no, keep it, it's not worth nothing. I went by the garage and fallen down. And I asked the guy about the bike and he said it was junk. I said, let it go with the scrap. Tried to buy the bike for years.
Yeah.
Aerial square four. Very good.
Aerial Square Farm. Looks very orange and black. Just like yours. So this is his bike then?
No, this is the shell.
The shell. Ta-da!
That's an engine.
Wow.
A homemade
Interesting.
engine. Ever seen a metal lathe with pedals?
No, I was just saying. I've never seen one
me
before.
either.
All right, Dad. What's the story here? I'm sure you know something about it. Or
Very little. The movie didn't do it justice, but this is one of his bikes. Mike Martin, the guy we just talked to, said he had several bikes.
and he used to work with him, knew him personally.
Yeah, he worked at the electric shop where Bert used to bring his magnetos to get them tested.
He's like 80 years old.
He's 80 years old now, and he didn't want his picture taken.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
How did you get into Burt Munro stuff anyway, or bikes?
I
Was it the
actually
movie,
have,
or was it-
I actually have the Popular Mechanics book from back in the day. And I read through it as a little kid, and it talked about Bert coming here trying to set the speed record before he ever did it.
Yeah.
I still have that book to this day.
Mm.
And these are the real bikes right here.
The I don't know what the heck the piece is called. The head or whatever. The top on top of that.
Rocker box, yeah.
That looks rather homemade.
Yeah.
You think so, or?
Everything on this bike here, just about everything is homemade. He actually made cylinders out of cast iron sewer pipe.
Wow.
It's his own pistons, yeah.
So this is one of his racing. Oh, this is
This
The-
is the bike.
the bike. Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. 69.
And I think there's another one right over there.
Over here.
One of the bikes.
The bikes. Guess you can't touch this one. How did you get into bikes, Dad? Long story, or?
I remember them coming down a driveway on a Cushman scooter, Daryl. And he was just little, maybe 8 years old, coming down the driveway at the old farm and crashing and breaking his ankles. And my dad brought it back to, I think it was from Credit Store. But there were always motorcycles in our lands, man.
So as far back as you can remember, you remember motorcycles being around?
Motorcycles, cars, jokers, hot rods.
Cushman scooter.
Cushman
I don't know.
scooter.
I don't know what that is.
There's probably one here, actually.
Ah.
Got my first mini bike, me and Daryl. It was in 1969. I think I was 8 years old that summer. I can't hardly even remember anymore. Stefan bought it for us
Yeah.
in Pennsylvania. $400 brand new.
Wow.
Been on two wheels ever since.
It's kind of poetic, giving me your how you got into bikes or in front of this legendary also bike. It's from the film.
Used in the film. All right.
Replica, okay. Oh, right next to the original one.
Really?
It's original, according to that sign,
Yeah.
original motorcycle trailer.
Learn something new every day.
Well, that's cool. How does that make you feel, Dad?
Like I'm standing in a part of history.
You seem a bit starstruck. A little bit.
Somebody that had a dream and followed it. And
Tinkerer.
to the point of making movies about the guy. I bet he never anticipated that.
I bet he didn't. What were you saying though? My friend here in New Zealand, older guy Chris, he said the same thing. How they didn't have brakes. They didn't have. You're just saying that.
Well, on speedway bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one over there. They're like 100 horsepower running on methanol, and all they had was an on and off switch for wide open or stop.
Yeah.
And no brakes, and they threw them sideways to slow down. And them boys are crazy. That's coming from a guy that used to race motorcycles.
Yeah. Okay, now make race car noises. Just kidding. Wouldn't he sit more like a jockey, or is that how he sit in it?
Actually, I don't know if my body will bend, but tucked in like this.
Yeah, that looks uncomfortable.
With his feet going back. And they're going
Oh,
forward.
like a jockey then. Okay, cool. So these are the parts he blew up
Yeah.
in his process.
Wow. He cast his own pistons and made his own connecting rods, own cylinders.
Pretty resourceful. We've hashed a little scheme to get Barry on this trip, and my dad can probably elaborate. So what was your guys' plan?
So here you've seen this in a few of our photos. We've brought it with to a bunch of different places, and this is a little miniature urn that Danny made on a lathe with Barry's ashes in it.
Some of Barry's ashes.
Some of Barry's ashes in it.
Craftily made.
Yeah, he
cool.
custom made it. It's got an O-ring on a bolt, and he shortened up the bolt, and he made the aluminum part from scratch on a lathe. And it's got some of Barry's ashes in it. And we are going to take and sneakily sprinkle some in the Munro Museum.
Bike. On the bike.
On the bike, in the bike. And we got to be real sneaky about this.
Just a tiny bit of it.
Just a tiny bit. It's not like we're defacing a national treasure or anything, because engine is all dirty and grungy and all of that.
Yep.
So it's just a little more dust, and so that's our plan.
I think he would appreciate that.
I think he would too.
Okay, be cool. Act natural. Relax. Be cool. Yeah.
This is the bike. Let's see if I can get my... So this, as you can see,
It's a nice, decent size to look at. I'd often thought about using straight